All right, everyone, good evening. Today is Monday, September 21st, and let's run through the market news of the day. To kick things off, let's talk about the broader risk-off tone in the markets, displayed through the commodities, equities, and fixed income spaces. On the equity side, we've seen a broad-based decline across the board, with the Dow down a little bit more than 500 points and touched a low down more than 800 during the day. In addition, looking to precious metals, we saw weakness in gold, with gold sliding more than 3%. On this trend of a stronger dollar. Again, we're going to go back to the theme that we've seen a medium to long-term trend of a weakening dollar and rotations into currencies like the pound, the euro, and the yen, which have strengthened. However, in today's session alone, we've seen a stronger dollar directly pushing gold prices down more than 3% to $19.10 on spot, 19,009 on futures. In addition, considering treasuries prices rallied, which means yields fell to 67 basis points. Within the equity markets, the materials sector outperformed, with chemical companies including Lind and Air Products and Chemicals continuing this outperformance that they've seen over the last quarter, being up 16%, and over the last month alone, being up a little bit more than 6%, despite the global, the global market falling more than 4%. The crop nutrient producer Mosaic & Co. had a particularly impressive showing over the last month, with performance up a little bit more than 54% this quarter. To consider big stories of the day, Nikola's chairman Trevor Milton had stepped down amid the scandal, and this is despite recent support from General Motors. Shares of Nikola, the electrical vehicle maker, was down more than 19% and brought NEL, the clean hydrogen producer, also down with it. This is pretty substantial, as Nikola had made more than a $30 million order for NEL's electrolyzers to go into their battery production. Obviously, recently we've had the short seller come forward with claims against accounting and future outlook on the company. Considering Justice Ginsburg, she unfortunately passed over the weekend at an age of 87 years old. RBG had an incredibly illustrious career at the nation's high court. And now there's a huge question on if Trump will be able to approve a nominee. He seems eager to support the nomination of a woman, and Republicans vehemently oppose the construct of either a fourth year or a lame duck president deciding to appoint a Supreme Court justice in 2016. But now that the tables are turned, and it's no longer an Obama presidency, but rather a Trump presidency, it seems like senators such as the one that was very outspoken, Lindsey Graham, are eager to get a nominee through. With regard to lumber prices in Canada, new homes are now expected to be $4,000 to $8,000, which is about $5,000 to $10,000 Canadian dollars more expensive, given higher lumber costs, with a price index up more than 50 basis points. This is the highest month-over-month increase since May 2017. With regard to Microsoft is going to be acquiring Zenzi Max. They announced their acquisition for $7.5 billion in cash entirely. Microsoft's biggest video game purchase ever included titles such as Elder Scrolls, Doom, and Fallout titles. And this is expected to close by the end of fiscal 2021, which for them will be in June 2021. Microsoft is also obviously launching their new gaming console, the new generation of Xbox, coming out this November in time for both Thanksgiving and the upcoming holiday season. This is in direct competition to the Sony PlayStation, where Sony is going to release its Sony PlayStation 5 for a similar time frame. At Goldman Sachs, they also announced new heads of M&A in both New York and London offices, which are known for having obviously a very strong presence across the strait. Goldman Sachs M&A is at the top of the league tables for the number and size of announced transactions this year alone, as it is in most years. And the M&A business made a whopping $3.2 billion of revenue last year alone. And this is particularly substantial because it's M&A. M&A is an advisory business, which means it's not capital intensive in any way. This makes it a particularly profitable thing because the biggest upfront cost is going to be the human capital. With regard to financials, we've seen a very precarious situation with regard to the banking bust. $2 trillion of funds have been marked with suspicious activity reports across banks, whether that's HSBC, Standard Chartered, Deutsche Bank, and JP Morgan. Deutsche Bank is hit particularly hard, down almost 8% on the day in Frankfurt after following more accountability for these dirty money transactions. Deutsche Bank has apparently appeared to have facilitated more than 1.3 trillion dollars of transactions from unknown and potentially suspicious sources. Deutsche Bank, when questioned about it, noted that they had already known about these transactions and had been making changes to their protocol with specific regard to KYC procedures. JP Morgan also had a substantial share with a little bit more than 514 billion dollars and thus fell a little bit more than 3% on the news. With regard to HSBC, they did not get hit as hard in terms of scope and scale of inclusion in the report. However, HSBC has been struggling and is now at a 25-year low. They were down 6% today, even though it claimed that this supposed new information was historical and something that they had been adjusting to, like Deutsche Bank had said. However, net profit fell 96% in Q2. So we see dire circumstances for HSBC. That's down to 192 million US dollars following the pandemic, US-China tensions, and obviously the issues of the relationships between China and Hong Kong. In addition, HSBC had already canceled its dividend, but that being said, it is performing strong in the credit markets because if you look at CDS, the cost of protection on $10 million of debt is a $67,000 premium, which is very cheap. You'll see other European banks running a little bit over 100. So protection is cheap, which means that the bonds are probably going to be safe, which is a bullish indicator, I guess, a less bearish indicator on the future performance of the company. On the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the circumstances in which European banks have found themselves recently. Obviously, having negative interest rates across govies in the European Union is a big issue in terms of lower borrowing rates and obviously lower interest yields there. With regard to the US and China, there's a lot to talk about here, but I'm just going to concentrate on the box on the top left. If you look at this astounding, monolith of different issues and places of contention, we see things spanning the applications, Hong Kong, different territories in the South China Sea, as well as provinces within China, relations with India, through Tibet, and then different actions that the US has taken, whether that's with Huawei or delisting Chinese companies because they don't want to be audited like American companies by American auditors. Considering all that, let's just take a deep dive into TikTok and WeChat. Oracle and Walmart are definitely in talks to acquire TikTok's U.S. operations. Mnuchin helped broker the deal and remains confident that Trump will okay the deal, despite Trump saying today that he would not approve the deal if ByteDance retained a majority stake. As the deal stands now, it is 80% going to be continued to be owned by ByteDance. However, the investors would be a little bit more than 50% American because a lot of American investors do have positions in ByteDance and would also, again, have positions in this new company that would be based in Texas with 4 out of 5 board members being American as well. We see big names like Sequoia also becoming involved, and obviously Oracle and Walmart taking these actual operational stakes. The editor-in-chief of the Chinese state-affiliated Global Times tweeted that Beijing would likely reject the deal, however, because the agreement would supposedly endanger China. This is going to be something very interesting to watch, and the deadline has been extended until this coming Sunday on September 27th. With regard to WeChat, last thing I'd like to talk about today, the California judge had ruled that the WeChat ban was originally slated to be instated yesterday. However, that is unconstitutional and violates the First Amendment right to free speech for Americans, which includes all Americans, including Chinese Americans who use WeChat on a daily basis and have it as an integral part of their lives. The U.S. Magistrate Judge Laurel Beeler in San Francisco issued a preliminary injunction at the request of a group of U.S. WeChat users. This, again, mentioned free speech rights being violated for those Chinese-speaking Americans who rely on the app to do business, talk to friends, and communicate with family. WeChat is obviously a Chinese app. However, in the US, it has a little bit more than 19 million regular users and 1 billion users worldwide. So the scope is incredible. This is one of the reasons it's a key issue of contention. But as you see on your screen, there are a lot of key issues of contention and a lot of things to watch between the US and China. With that in mind, I look forward to staying tuned and touching base again with you guys tomorrow night on Tuesday,